is good, good people? You are now listening to another episode of Since We Last Spoke with Danny Foxworth. I am your humble narrator, Danny Foxworth, and this one here, basically just going to recap my last week vacation. It was a lot of fun. You got to take your PTO. You don't be ashamed of taking your PTO because you got to take some time out for yourself and enjoy yourself in this thing called life. So the first half of the vacation was basically a staycation. Went to Folly Beach a couple times earlier last week. I went on Monday and then went back again on Wednesday. And then after I left there, actually stopped at the College of Charleston to just to take care of some podcasting stuff. I actually recorded the last episode of Since We Last Spoke last Tuesday with the good brother Leonard Brothers. Be sure to check out that episode if you haven't. And while I was in there doing the editing and stuff, my good brother Cam Salivi, man, my Panther brethren in Christ, my fellow 616 alumni, he actually works at the College of Charleston. So it was cool actually getting a bump into him. I hadn't seen him in ages. So Cam, shout out to you, man. And while I was there taking care of my podcast stuff, I actually had another guest appearance on Beyond the Arc with Brandon Silvers lined up with me and fellow friend Brett Gosnell, and we just talked about how the MLB shaped up for the first half of the season and giving out superlatives and giving out the first half awards. So that was a lot of fun. Make sure you check that episode out too if you haven't. It's Beyond the Arc with Brandon Silvers. It's available on all streaming platforms. He's been on my podcast. I've been on his podcast numerous times. So make sure y'all check that out. And then I got up Thursday morning and made my trip up to Charlotte. So basically, I'm just going to be talking about what I did over the course of those 4 days. So I got up, left, headed up 26 and I-77, got to Charlotte, touched down to Charlotte Thursday morning around 10:45. And first thing I did, well, which is customary for me at this point, first places I stopped are at the Beckler Art Museum, then went to the Mint Museum, which was next door. You know me, I'm a sucker for art. I mean, you could look at my background. That's a dead giveaway. So I stopped at those two places first, and then I went across the street and went to the Gantt Museum, which is the African American Museum in Charlotte. Definitely check those three places out if you're ever in the city. And then after I left there, I went to a couple of Goodwills to see what they were hitting for. I mean, in the Charlotte metropolitan area, there's a ton of Goodwills, but I didn't really find anything that really tickled my fancy. So my Goodwill mission was fruitless. I then went over to Bird Pizzeria, which shout out to the good brother Shelton Starks. He was the person that really hit me to that pizza place, man. And I could not recommend it any higher. I actually got the build your own pie, and you have your choice between red sauce and white sauce and just get your toppings. I've been on a pizza with the white sauce kick. It wasn't until fairly recently that I have tried white sauce on the pizza instead of the regular tomato paste. And man, that was an absolute game changer. So I got the white sauce base with pepperoni and mushrooms and banana peppers. And it was just, wow, chef's kiss. I highly recommend Burt Pizzeria if you ever got the taste for a pizza pie, and you're in Charlotte. Definitely hit up Burt Pizzeria. Then after I hit up Burt Pizzeria, I went and checked into my hotel, and I pretty much shut it down for the rest of the day. I checked into the hotel probably about 6 p.m. and I just stayed in for the rest of the night because I got 3 other days ahead of me to log in some activities. So I woke up Friday and went down to the lobby, had breakfast, and then went to the gym. And then after the gym, then I went and took a shower. And then I headed out to one of my absolute favorite spots in Charlotte, the Cowfish. Shout out to Rod from the Black Guy Who Tips. He was the first person to really introduced me to Cowfish a while back, and brother, it is yet to disappoint me. I got the cheeseburgushi roll, which is basically like a bacon cheeseburger in sushi form, and it had this special sauce that goes with it. Oh my God. It's just, man, it tasted like Christmas Day. It was so good, man. So good. So I got that, and I got the spicy tuna rolls. Those are my 2 go-to rolls at Cowfish. And of course, I had to get the Parmesan truffle fries as the appetizer. And I wanted to get the tall fresh berry cake, but my stomach was like, dog, you 45 now. Enough is enough. I don't need any more food. I was like, you know what? You're right. So took the foot off the gas and then left there. Went to a couple more Goodwills to see what I could find. And again, slim pickings this time around. After I basically conceded defeat with my Goodwill searches, I then went back to the hotel just to rest up a little bit, took a quick nap, and later on that Friday, I'm going to finally meet up with my brother slash friend of the podcast. If you follow my podcast at The Plate with Danny Foxworth, I had the good brother Calvin Wright on. He's a chef based out of Charlotte, and he is a extremely diehard Mets fan. He's been on twice, and he actually hit me up probably about a month before the game. He was like, yo, July 18th, Larry Johnson and Jonathan Stewart are going to be there signing autographs and taking pictures at the ballpark. I was like, oh, bet, I'm there. Larry Johnson was one of my absolute favorite players from my middle school years when the Charlotte Hornets first got into the league. Well, not when they first got into the league, but like the early iterations of the Charlotte Hornets. He was the number one overall pick in 90, I think it was 92. It's either 91 or 92. He ended up being rookie of the year, and he was just an absolute legend for the Charlotte Hornets. And this was actually his first time back in Charlotte since leaving the Hornets, if I'm not mistaken. It was just like an absolute treat just to be able to meet one of my favorite players. And also to, again, I'm big on meeting internet friends in real life. And this encounter did not disappoint. I got to meet him and his lovely wife and their youngest son. They also came along with him to the game. I was waiting out front before the gates opened, and he got there probably about 15 minutes before the gates opened. I was like, man, so finally good to see you in real life. And he made my day. It was good chopping it up with them. Man, our conversation, we covered a lot of topics, man. We covered a lot of ground in between those 9 innings. But before we actually took our seats, we got in line to meet Larry Johnson and Jonathan Stewart. And he's a huge sports memorabilia / card collector. So he had like 4 or 5 LJ cards that he wanted to get him to sign. And that line was long. We waited in line roughly an hour, but it was well worth the wait. And the closer we got to Larry Johnson's table, it was about time for him and Jonathan Stewart to get up and leave to throw out the first pitch. But they were like, yo, just hold your place in line. We're going to come right back after we throw out the first pitch. And they do the anthem and stuff. And they came right back. And man, it was just so cool getting to meet and dap up Larry Johnson. And he could not have been cooler, man. The way he carries himself, it was just like, he already knew you. Like he was an old friend. He was like, yo, man, what's good, man? What's up, player, man? How you doing, man? And dap me up. And then while we dap, Calvin got the picture of us. And then vice versa, I got the picture of Calvin and his wife and their son got their picture with LJ. And I was like, man, my inner 12-year-old is just like doing just consecutive backflips right now. This man, oh man, this man had a grip on the city of Charlotte back in 92, and getting to see him in real life, man, this was like a dream come true for me. So after we got through getting our pictures and stuff, and Calvin got his card signed, we went and took our seats, and it was a really good game. It was just real back and forth. And the fact that we just were able to cover so much ground in our conversation. And while the game was going on, him and his wife had their phone on the Mets game watching that. They were playing the Reds. And we talked about everything from the WNBA. We talked about the Savannah Bananas and how we actually both feel the same way. Because in the middle of talking, he was just like, yo, so how you feel about the Savannah Bananas? And I was like, you know what? I'm going to be completely honest with you. They're not my cup of tea. I went and saw them back in 2019. I was like, this is cool. It was fun. But it's like the antics are just like raised up 1 trillion% since 2019. And it's too much antics for me. It's a little too much antics for me. For me, it's like watching the Globetrotters as an adult. It was cool watching them on Wild World of Sports, doing the behind the back passes and throwing the confetti on the people and sitting courtside. But now I'm just like, man, this is unwatchable. And you know, the last thing I want to be is the fun police, but the Savannah Bananas it ain't for me. And he echoed my exact same sentiment. And I was like, okay, so I'm not alone feeling this way. And then after the game was over, the Charlotte Knights played the Durham Bulls. The Knights ended up losing 7-5, but they had a good ass fireworks show after the game. That was real cool. And then after the game, we're making our way back up the stairs, and in the back of my mind, I was plotting where I was going to go eat after the game. I had my mind set on Bojangles. And out of nowhere, Calvin is like, yo, after the game, yo, I'm hitting a cookout. I'm like, my dog, this is exactly what I needed to hear. I hadn't had cookout in so long, and they got the watermelon shakes back out now that it's summertime. He was like, man, even as a chef, he was like, I will never ever talk down on cookout. Cookout has saved my life, bro. He's like, it's got me through many a night. And I was like, okay, so it ain't just me. And you know what? I'm glad he said that because that's exactly what I did. I went straight to cookout before I went back to my hotel. And I got the spicy chicken tray with the Cajun fries and the watermelon shake. And my stomach was doing the drum solo after that watermelon shake the next day. But you know what? You got to live. And then got back to my hotel, called it a night. Then Saturday, I got up and made my way down to Beatty's Ford Road to one of my favorite spots in Charlotte. It's a place called Archive. It's basically just like blackety black, just black memorabilia all over the walls. They sell smoothies and coffees and pastries and stuff like that. It's just such a vibe in that place. And I always enjoy setting foot in Archive every time I'm in Charlotte. And I ordered a peach smoothie, and man, that thing was out of sight. Man, peaches are so doggone good, man. I swear. And they also sell posters and they sell like merch and memorabilia and stuff. And come to find out, she had a crate with records in it. And I've been searching high and low for this vinyl right here. This I'm a Blues Man by ZZ Hill. And she had that in stock. And I was like, yeah, I gotta get this. Basically showed up for the peach smoothie and stayed for the ZZ Hill vinyl. And again, shout out to Sharice at Archive Charlotte. So I left there, made my way down Beatty's Ford, headed across Uptown, and pulled up to the Uptown Farmers Market, which they do every Saturday. I think it's from like 8 to 12:30 every Saturday out in the parking lot. And got some local okra from there and took that with me. And man, it was such a pleasant surprise at the farmers market seeing my favorite donut shop have a tent there. It was Beyond Amazing Donuts. They used to have a storefront in Charlotte, and they actually closed the storefront maybe 3 or 4 months ago, and that broke my heart. But to see them out there still selling donuts at the farmers market, I was like, yes. So I got my donut fix, and all was right with the world. So then I left the farmers market, busted a couple of left turns, and got on Davidson and headed down to the Noda district. Then went to the Charlotte Studio Artist spot at the IMCA down there. It was always just a chill vibe. I love That's probably one of my favorite places to go in Charlotte. Just real. I said it in the previous episode. Just real artsy fartsy, real free spirited. That's my scene right there. And then after I left Noda, another thing I spoke about in my last Charlotte episode was a food truck by the name of 33rd and Main. And I spoke so glowingly about this item, I'd said it wrong. I said it was a seafood burrito. It's actually a seafood egg roll. But anyway, I made my way over to 33rd and Main to scratch my itch. And unfortunately, I get to the food truck and the guy that was running, he was like, man, unfortunately, man, we closed right now. The refrigeration is malfunctioning in the food truck, so we're going to be closed all weekend. I was like, ah, man. So I didn't get to sink my teeth into that seafood egg roll. But I was like, oh, well, another time. So even though I had a backup plan just in case, so I went back uptown to sea level. But before I went there, as I was driving from 33rd and Main, making my way back uptown, I ran across Lunchbox Records, which was one of my favorite. That's another thing Calvin and I talked about at the game because he collects vinyl as well. And I was like, yo, what are some good vinyls? What are some good record stores around here? And he mentioned Lunchbox Records. And lo and behold, I passed Lunchbox Records on the way to going to sea level. And I quickly, abruptly made a U-turn and went right back there. There's just a real like outer pop, like blueberry color brick facade, and you couldn't miss it with the big red letters that says Lunchbox Records. Oh, that's the place Calvin was talking about. So I turned right back around and went in there and see what I could find. And I found some goodies in there. So I went in there and I left with the Johnny Taylor Eargasm album. If you don't know, Johnny Taylor is my all-time favorite singer, and it's got Disco Lady on there, and it's got one of my other favorite songs. It's Running Out of Lies and Somebody's Getting It. Those are stone jams right there. So I got that from Lunchbox Records, and then I got the slip mat for my record player, the Lunchbox Records slip mat, and then from there, and then on top of that, they actually sell some prints in there too. So I got this print of Marvin Gaye. It's an 11 by 17 print. I found that, and I'm going to eventually hang it up here in the spaceship. And then found another print with happened to be a print of my all-time favorite rap group, A Tribe Called Quest. R.I.P. Fife. Shout out to Q-Tip. Shout out to Ali Shaheed Muhammad. And I cannot wait to hang these up in here. So yeah, shout out to Lunchbox Records, man. Y'all really held it down, man. And so after I left there, I proceeded to make my way uptown to Sea Level, which is a spot I went to for the first time when I came up to Charlotte for the Black Guy Who Tips show, and they performed the theater that they did the live show at. Sea Level is literally right behind that theater, and I did my pregame there, and I was like, man, that shrimp po' boy left such an impression on me. I'm gonna go back and get it again, and that's exactly what I did, and it didn't. And once again, it did not disappoint. It was packed as all outdoors in there. I got there probably about 5:30, and man, there was a line out the door. But luckily for me, there was a seat at the bar, so I just pulled up and ate my po' boy there. And man, that was the most delicious and most filling po' boy I've ever had in my life. The shrimp was just so, you could tell the shrimp was local because it tasted like shrimp is supposed to taste. So shout out to Sea Level. And then after that, I was too full to do anything else that day. So went back to the hotel, called it a night. And then Sunday morning, I got up, and first thing I did was go hike at a spot called Crowder's Mountain. It's actually in Gastonia, North Carolina, which is probably about 25, 30 minutes outside of Charlotte. And so hadn't hiked that mountain in quite some time. And boy, I tell you, that was a struggle, but I made it to the top, and just getting my early sweat in, and came back down. And then once I left Crowder's Mountain, went back to the hotel, showered, and checked out of the hotel. And then after I left there, went to Hardy Boys Records over in Camp North End to see what kind of records they had. And they had another record that I was searching for. It was the When Love Is New album by Billy Paul, because they have one of my favorite songs on there. It's actually a song that Jeezy rapped over, that let the dollar circulate, let the dollar circulate, is on this album right here. So man, it was cool that I was able to find some of the records that I've been searching for years, and just being in the right place at the right time. So shout out to Hardy Boys Records. Y'all did it again. And so this is a super duper fun trip, as always. Charlotte is basically my second, I'd say it's my third home, right behind Columbia. I think I've hit Columbia up more times recently than Charlotte. So, but still, Charlotte, it feels like home. It really does. Left Charlotte, got back to Charleston probably about 5 o'clock. And then lo and behold, the College of Charleston men's team had their had a practice that was open to the public at TD Arena. So I went and hit that up, and that was cool. Shout out to Devin Hanahan. She's a professor at the College of Charleston. I always sit next to her at the basketball games, next to her and her husband, and they happened to show up too. So it was good seeing them, since I hadn't seen them since basketball season. And then after the practice was over, still had to stop by the grocery store and get stuff to put in the fridge for this week. And then got my grocery shopping done, and then went back home. And today I went back to work, and it was a very easy day today. So it's good when you have a great vacation, and then when you come back to work and it's an extremely smooth transition back into work mode. So yeah, that's all that transpired this past week. And that's going to do it for this episode of Since We Last Spoke with Danny Foxworth. Make sure you like, download, and subscribe to Since We Last Spoke. Tell a friend about the podcast. You can subscribe to my YouTube channel. You can find me at Danny Foxworth 843. There you can find videos for every episode of this podcast, as well as my baseball podcast, At the Plate with Danny Foxworth, my Candle podcast, The Wicked Good Time with Danny Foxworth, and Growing Up Low Country with Liz and Danny. And until next time, y'all be good. Peace.